Welcome to Gray Areas for August 13th, 2024. This is episode 635, a number that is so high that Dave's son was incredulous when he saw it.
You've been doing this for 635 episodes? Yeah, son. We've been doing this longer than you've been alive.
Did you tell him that he ruined a
Cool.
show when he was born?
Did you tell him that you love the show more than him?
No and yes. Wait, did I get that order right?
Great.
Just making sure we're live out there, folks. It looks like we have some delays, so please let me know. I hear myself broadcasting now, but if somebody's in the chat, says YouTube is not receiving enough video to
It can't handle
maintain
635
smooth
episodes.
streaming.
That's why.
My phone in the great, what is that called when like you reflect your mirror back and forth 100,000 times or whatever it's called? Yeah, it's working.
It's called
flowing.
Inception.
I don't think the video is actually working well, though. It's like
It froze.
yeah,
Yeah,
froze.
precisely. I mean, you were holding it up, and you weren't holding up a phone in the video on the phone, so it clearly meant that it wasn't actively happening. Otherwise, we would have just see perpetual phoneness.
Yeah. So we have to look back at the Olympics. If we even, I don't know, maybe the show crashes, but we're gonna sally forth.
We'll have nothing.
And some video games, of yesteryear. Not so much, but kind of like yesterday, more than yesteryear. But only if we get to it, because there's a lot of Olympics topics.
You don't want to just start with your game stuff right
No,
away?
I think we get to the Olympics and we have time. We can talk about my game recommendations for Dave, which
Yeah,
is
let's go.
my favorite topic.
So alphabetical by sport. Do we start with?
Well, first of all, was my Olympics
Archery.
tune? Do they still use that?
I don't know.
Yes,
Or
they
has
do.
that been phased out?
No, quick quiz. Who wrote that? Do you know which composer wrote that?
The guy who did the basketball song.
No.
I don't know who did.
Well, John Tesh is who you were thinking of. No,
Yes.
John Williams did that. Same guy who did Star Wars. And
Oh, yeah,
Jurassic
I
Park
know
and all
John
that. Yeah.
Williams.
Well, you didn't know he did that,
No, I didn't know he did.
so you don't know
that.
his entire
When
career
did he
catalog.
so what did they use before John Williams?
NBC didn't own the rights to it. That was specifically made for NBC.
Oh, I know, but someone broadcast Olympics with some music. What was the music?
When's the last time the Olympics weren't on NBC?
I don't know.
That's my point.
I was like, I don't know if it happened when I paid attention or was alive.
It was prior to my birth, that's for sure.
So do you
So-
think NBC was the first broadcast of the Olympics? Like the first time it was ever on TV?
To a centralized location, probably. It might have been more localized before. Like they'd have TV networks would have maybe like highlights of it, and that's it.
You're asking too
Or
many good
results.
questions.
Did they
right now.
bring those one recorders to like ancient Greece for the early Olympics? Do you
Ancient
know what I'm
Greece
talking
or
about?
just regular Greece?
No, ancient Greece, like where the Olympics started.
Yeah,
it's-
yeah. They had movie.
Yes.
You're right. They had movie cameras in 2000 BC. You're right. Yes.
Well, no, the
Yes.
frame rate was really low, but you just you do this.
It was actually artists who would just sit there and draw pictures the entire
I,
time.
I
like
think Hercules did a joke
colorists.
about that, the animated one. Yeah.
Yes.
When you look at some of the early Olympic games, I could compete. I think in those, they're pretty bad.
It's the same thing as watching the record in like the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, actually, where it's like in 1894 the winning hot dogs was 8. I'm like,
One and a
I
half
think
hot
I could
dogs.
do that. I think I could do that. Now it's like 70. I'm like, nope, can't do that.
Or breakdancing. I could have.
Oh yeah, well,
competed in that.
is that the first alphabetical starting you wanted to go with there, Cody? Is breaking
No.
That's
archery?
I want to. Yeah, I actually watched a bunch of the archery. To be fair, so
Actually, the funny thing, I remember watching archery, and the consistency that they had was, first of all, insane. Second of all, there was one of the girls, I think she was from Japan. I think you could see there's like a line on her lip that was like embedded in there because she
From
pulled
holding
the
it,
thing
yeah.
back on her lip every time. And I'm like, oh, well, you can find it that way.
this is not anything relevant, like remotely new, because every person who watches the Olympics is like you just like adopt the culture of the sport, and you're like, yeah, I know what's good and bad. Watching archery, and then anytime anyone hits anything outside of an 8, being like, you fucking suck. You are fucking terrible. What that round's done. You're not gonna win that. Like, it's so funny to just sit there and like be like, get a 7. Fuck up and get a 7. And I'm like disappointed when people get 9s and 10s. I'm like, this is boring. Like, you're all too good at this. It's like, oh cool, the leg thing went exactly as you'd expect. And like as soon as someone botched one and had like the chance to clinch it and fucking got a 6. And I was like the funniest shit I'd seen in like from like most of the Olympics. I'm like, how the fuck did you screw it up that bad? All you have to do is get an 8 to win, and you shot all the way out there.
So I don't
as
know
if I could do any better.
No one knows
As if I'd
this,
hit the target.
this jargon, this parlance that you're using. What are these numbers? Is that like the rings?
So there's rings on the thing. Yeah. So it's the 10's the bullseye, and then it goes 9, 8, and it goes all the way out. And then like different colors, and they stagger out. And so like I really think like 85-90% of the shots are 8s or better every single fucking time. And so it's like and then so you tie, and you each get like each round is worth 2 points. So if you tie, you each get 1, and that's how it advances through, and you figure out who the fuck wins after whatever. And then the ultimate tiebreaker is just one shot. It's just a shoot off. Just each shoot one fucking time. And if it's like you get a 9 and they get a 10, you're fucked and you lose. And
that's like soccer. That's like a shootout in soccer.
And then they pan out, and you realize how far away they're standing from these fucking targets. And
it's
you're
like 50 meters or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I'm like, how the fuck are you all this good at this weird sport with your crazy bow and the whole holder thing? The amount of money that must go into getting good at archery when, again, all you're doing is standing. And then the machine is doing a shit ton of the work for you, and you line it up, and then you just go, let go, and that's it. It's fascinating.
They should do one where you're moving.
You want to do it like you're actually having to go?
Yeah. Like inspired by the movies.
I would love that. I mean, again, and yet I sat there and watched so much of this because it was on at weird times. Because this one didn't get put into like the nicer blocks, or even the afternoon. It was like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was up late. And I'm like, sweet, archery's on. Let's see how many losers can get a 7.
So, but like you could do a thing like in wrestling where you like start in different positions, but it's like on this one you're gonna jump and do like the Hawkeye.
So you have to do you want horse archery. I do this move, and then you have to match me doing the move.
No, it doesn't have to be horse, but like different moves. Yeah, so everybody does the backflip fire, and then you get the scores, and everybody like walks down the line and has to shoot.
Well, when you see these people, I don't know that that's going to work super well.
Well, they're going to have to.
They're not exactly athletic.
They're going to have to work for this new thing, this new event.
Fine.
It has to be better than breakdancing. Again, this is the second time I've gone.
It is. It's fucking awesome.
Well, but
and I'm like, could you guys just walk around killing anyone you wanted to kill with your fucking bow and arrows? Then, if you're this accurate,
probably.
Yeah.
Probably. So.
That's not controversy though. That's just.
I enjoyed
archery.
it. I'm just saying it was a weird sport and boring, and yet I enjoyed it. It was funny.
I can start with controversy.
Fine, go ahead. B for boxing. There you go.
Okay, so the anecdote around this is interesting. I think so. All day, early on in the Olympics, I'm getting articles that are like, a man beats up woman in boxing, and I was like, oh, interesting. That. It doesn't seem fair. And it's article after article after article is like how unfair this is. She's been banned before because she's a man and she failed this test. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And then J.K. Rowling comes out and is like, I can't believe that we're celebrating men beating women, which is such a, like, you're taking this conceit and then you're going a few more degrees. And then J.K. Rowling said, and I said, wait a minute. Hold on. So I do my own like research and I look into this, and I find out she's a woman the whole time. She was never a man.
That was a twist ending.
Never...
That was the twist ending to the story.
Yeah, kind of. But I just thought it was so interesting that like I had a family member that a couple days ago could be like, "Can you believe they're letting this man beat up women?" And I was like, "Guys, like that's did you look at did you do research?" And then they're like, "Well, I don't. You can't tell me that's a woman." And I was like, "Oh, because you're such a fucking expert."
So the part of the problem I think was the fact of how the person, the woman that fought against her reacted, because she, the Italian woman lost and for lack of a better term threw a fit.
Yeah.
And
she got punched in the face at her job, which is her job is to get punched in the face.
Which is her job.
And then she's like, I don't like my job anymore.
Well, she was basically saying like, it's not fair that, this person who either she claimed was transgender or claimed was a male or whatever it was, is saying it wasn't fair. And the hard part of this whole discussion is if indeed that was a transgender person, I mean, you could argue both ways on that in a lot of ways. But in this case, that wasn't a transgender person. She was from a country there in which being transgender is completely outlawed.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's not the
like,
case. This woman may have higher testosterone levels, but Michael Phelps had longer legs and bigger hands.
Exactly.
Like, what are you gonna do?
So literally the same. So I was telling this family member,
Your wife.
like,
You could just say it's your
no,
wife. It's fine.
no,
Yeah, it's
no.
it's maybe.
No, but I was saying like, if you want to have a discussion about do higher testosterone levels is that fair, I think you can at least talk about that. It is a slippery slope because of all the athletes where you're like, okay, that player's just taller, and so are we going to start capping height or lung capacity or whatever? I think it's a slippery slope. But you can at least have a conversation. If your starting point is this is a transgender person who's not transgender, that just becomes like, what are we doing? And also, what are we just throwing out there and saying it's fact? And this is when I have a discussion with Republicans in my family. This is the part like I'm like, it just seems to be the party that does not care about science or research or fact checking or anything. And it just came to a head for me in this boxing controversy in the Olympics.
The
I think
funny part is
because
it depends on what you want to believe.
I think-
That's the hard part, is because I've seen absolutely both sides of the spectrum do that, where they cling on to some thought and won't be persuaded otherwise. And it's difficult because it's the polarization aspect, I think, more so than the party you belong to.
Well,
I think
Dave kind of made this point because Dave was like, well, it's not really it's realistically, it's not really a controversy because there's actually nothing to be controversial about. It's just people saying lies and making shit up based off of a test thing that happened that then everyone's like, yeah, well, that organization's like super shady and corrupt and has all of its own problems in anyway, which again, no one wanted to include that part of the story. So because Dave's point was like, do we even talk about this because it's not really a controversy? I think the reason why you're even more worked up, Sean, is because when you had the situation in the NCAAs where the transgender swimmer for Penn, I believe, was swimming and everyone got mad about that. And it's like, there's a conversation you can have there.
Yeah.
But this isn't even remotely that. It's people just claiming a woman is a man based off of a shady organization's test while she's competed against women her entire career. And then two Irish women are like, yeah, we also beat her. So like, it's not that like just be a better boxer.
Yeah.
And maybe you like won't get bent out of shape because she's stronger. Because again, Dave's point about Michael Phelps is the epitome of athletics. The whole point of this is it's like, the Olympics are crowning the best athletes in the world, whether they have God-given talents or they've worked their ass off and trained that way.
or both.
Or both, exactly. It's like, so now you want to criticize someone because they're too good at the sport they play? So, like, I mean, again, it's like, should we, like, not let anybody over, like, 6'2" be in the NBA? You just want to have a bunch of 5'7" to 6'2" guys run around because...
So you're in height classes.
Yeah, exactly. We just have height class basketball.
Yeah.
And it's just...
It'd be pretty... It'd be a terrible product at that point.
Exactly.
That's the whole problem with
Crazy
it, right?
that you want the elite of the elite in this, and it's more interesting. And again, Dave's point of like, yeah, the country she's from, not only wouldn't let her be in the Olympics and support her and let her wear the country's colors, she'd be in jail or dead.
Yeah, she'd be
if
dead,
this was
is what I
actually
heard.
the
Yeah.
case, by the way. Just like, it's insane how quickly shit like that can get jumped onto, and everyone wants to side on that side immediately. And so again, on Twitter, plenty of people were like, you know, we don't really know enough, which I'll get into the Pat McAfee part of this, is don't take a platform and then use the time to say, I just don't know enough about this situation to comment on it, and then spend 15 minutes commenting on it. It's amazing that is like, okay, and ESPN doesn't give a shit, and just I could just go down the list of like,
All right.
how the fuck did we get to the point where you can straight up say, I don't know enough, and then ramble and talk out of your ass, and everyone's like, yeah, man, you made a good point. It's like, he straight up said he didn't know what the fuck he was talking about, but because he said the thing that you just wanted confirmation bias, you're on board with what he said, and I'm like, that fucking figures.
Influential people taking no time to just look at the pretty apparent facts and just be like, oh, they just want to tweet. And maybe maybe they knew, and maybe they're like, but I'll get more clicks if I just run with throwing something out there.
Which is exactly what happened.
Yeah, well, when our society's built on engagement, that's where we run into.
So, Dave, here's my to circle back to a point that you made earlier, and I just want to double check. I want to see what your thoughts are. The Venn diagram of, let's say, MAGA and flat earthers, I think is pretty big. I think that the central, bigger than, let's say, non-MAGA and flat earthers, or Holocaust deniers and MAGA. Just from what I've seen, maybe that's anecdotal.
It might be. I don't know. You're probably right. There is probably more people who latch on to the right, and that's because it's out of the mainstream, and their idea is that, hey, I want to go against the mainstream everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know that they're
question
actually
everything.
conservatives. They just want to be outside of the mainstream. Yes, and I think that's
And
probably
Kyrie
more
Irving,
of the cause than there.
who's also like, and I
Who's
don't
above
think
the mainstream.
I don't think he's MAGA, but he's in this other.
I'd be curious if.
Well, and that's why I don't think it's full. It's not a full Venn diagram. It's
yeah,
not a
I
complete
think the Venn diagram of flat earthers and we don't vote is also like a pretty big circle. So it's like they don't actually believe in the system or trust either party anyway. So that's probably where a bunch of them. But some of them, if they're gonna vote, probably lean toward the one specific side. Yes, I would.
But like, but also like from what I found, and again, like, tell me if I'm wrong, but like the person who says, "Don't show me the science," and MAGA, I think is like pretty big.
I feel like that all is a descendant of like climate change.
That's
like,
a huge
like,
part of it.
Like
yeah,
I think that you start with the science of climate change and you start with the science of like a couple of these like the hot button topics, and then you start to be like, well, if science says that climate change is real, I don't believe that that's telling the truth, so I will now believe no science is.
Well, and also go ahead and throw COVID vaccines in there.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
I mean, it's all it all kind of comes together. So if you have a general distrust of the establishment of science, one of the parties currently leans a little bit closer into that to get those votes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I'm not necessarily saying
If they're
causation
gonna vote.
And all that, but I'm just saying Venn diagram.
No, they matched on Tinder, and they were like, "Wait, we have a lot more in common than we
so,
realized."
wow, yeah, that's
We never
amazing.
knew about each other, but we swiped right because we was like, "I don't believe in COVID, I don't believe
Yeah.
in vaccines, and I don't believe in climate change." And they're like, "Hey, I like those things too." So they just
Me?
kind of meshed. Yeah.
Bet, yeah, exactly.
To be
now,
fair,
now there's also like the super hippie yuppie who was like, we
that's
don't
actually
believe
where
in
I was just
vaccines.
gonna go.
But, and this is anecdotal, and I feel like every time I bring up like NASCAR when I say anecdotal to show my own flaws of not being able to understand something that is so huge in the country. But the yuppie, even they were more willing to get vaccines, in my experience, than Trump supporters.
NASCAR
That's all I'm
fans
saying.
or hippies.
No, sorry, the hippies saying we don't want the COVID vaccine.
Okay.
Still got it more often, in my own experience, than the people saying, make America great again. Make
That was
America
more-
strong once again.
That was more of the "you can't tell me what to do" mentality that a lot of people who tend to leave conservative go with, and people who tend to lean left a lot more or tend to be more like, yeah, sure, I'll go with that, no problem. And it's not I'm not saying that, oh yeah, COVID vaccines are stupid. I'm not saying that, but like that's just the personality type that would tend to lean that way of the, hey, you're gonna tell me to do this? No, you're not. And so I won't do it because you can't tell me what to do, which is a subset of the population, a very large subset of the population, a Ron Swanson type,
yeah. Yeah.
Ron Swanson
Now-
would have believed the boxer was transgender. You are correct.
Now, Dave,
about that.
you went down a tangent for me. So I will now do a topic that I know you've been very excited about. Do you want to talk about Olympic basketball?
I do. I want to, but before we do that, because this
Wow.
will lean in, my question I have for you is, as a poll, as a panel here, what is your favorite sport to watch in the Olympics?
Basketball.
And it doesn't have to be your favorite sport overall, but what's your favorite sport to watch in the Olympics?
Basketball. It's basketball. Now, if you
Chris?
remove basketball, just to
I
make
just
it
didn't want him to keep
interesting,
going because I knew he was going to keep going.
fuck you. Is tennis in the Olympics?
It is. But
Mhm.
the fact that you had to ask
Thanks
makes
for
it.
the ask.
You can't mean that you
Well,
enjoyed
because then I
watching
would say
it.
like soccer, but then soccer is also like I feel like that's an obvious one. Probably I don't know. I don't watch
If
a lot
you
of the
sit
Olympics,
down,
to be
okay,
honest.
so Cody, there you go. You've watched much more of this coverage. Cody, what's your favorite sport to watch in the Olympics?
It's close between track and swimming, but it's probably
That's
track.
fair.
I
Yeah,
just
I agree with
I
that.
covered track enough. I watched track enough. I'm familiar with actually like the science part of track and all that, so I actually can get into track. And
Hey,
also
hey.
the Olympics.
Yeah.
does a bit better of a job than a lot of other times where like we have distance stuff and they're like, let's cut away 18 different times. The Olympics did a little better with that because some of those distance races are like, people might fall at any moment because these jackasses are tripping each other and pushing each other, which literally happened in like 4 different distance races. And it can be a lot more interesting than you like. And that's, I think, why I lean track over swimming, because swimming, I mean, you can make more waves, I guess, to affect the other people next to you, but you are still super siloed in your own little lane, and it really just depends on you. Track starts to adventure into the, for distance at least, and actually everything over the 800 and higher.
400 meter.
Yeah, well, 400 you stay in lanes.
Yeah.
But then, so 800 on up is, oh shit, you don't know what the fuck could happen at any moment, and I swear to God, this year proved that more than anything else.
What about the guy with the pole vaulter with the huge dick?
The guy who didn't win because his dick kept hitting the bar?
That's right. Which
Okay,
is funny
so another
because
podcast I listened to really liked to do the poll of, would you want to be Mondo or whatever his name is, Mondo, I don't know, the Swedish guy, who set the world record.
Duplantis, yeah.
Do you want him? Do you want to be him that won the gold and set the world record, or do you want to be the dude with the big dick that hit the bar? Which one do you want to be known to as in history?
World famous, yeah.
Which, by the way, he wasn't going to win anyways, because Mondo Duplantis was on his way to setting his own world record for the 6th time. So whether his dick was huge or not, he was not going to win in the end. So kind of the best of both worlds there.
And I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed them having this conversation because I'm like, I was thinking, I'm like, I want the gold medal on the world record. I don't care if it's just pole vault. I'm like, anyone can have a big dick, I guess. It's really hard to win. It's really hard to win a gold medal.
I think that was the best moment of the Olympics, though, was he already has the gold secured. No one else cleared this previous height before that. And all the other events in the stadium for track were all done. Yeah. So it's like 70,000 people all watching him go for the world record, and it takes him till his 3rd try, but he does it. So like that was the biggest crowd pop of the Olympics. That's probably my favorite moment. I love watching Olympic volleyball. Olympic volleyball is fucking sick. The skill level is so high. So especially now, I mean, I liked it before, but now having watched Haikyuu and really gotten even more love for volleyball than I had before, and how like the Japan team is like using one of the opening songs from Haikyuu when they come out to the court and stuff, like, and they've got players who do certain things that were in the show, and like, you know, it's a whole thing. One of their middle blocker has like a Tsukishima little like plush doll. Like there's all these overlapping connections, but regardless of that part of it, I just think the competition is great, men's and women's. The level of like the quality of play is great. It's got a great cadence to it. You know, you have long sets, but each point kind of breaks up and then has a little break while they get ready to serve, and then you keep going. I watched almost all the volleyball highlights from the Olympics.
Yeah, I probably agree with Cody the most that track is like watching something like shot put is just crazy to watch these guys. Like this thing is like, I think I remember it was 16 pounds or 16 kilograms. I can't remember which one it was, but like they're throwing this thing 60 yards. It's like, how the hell are you throwing this cannonball this far? Or
they're all spinning and yelling too.
Yeah.
High jump. These guys are jumping over 7 feet. It's like, how is that humanly possible? I don't know. Watching people extend themselves in such a simple thing. Like the idea spawned from, hey, can you jump over that? Yeah, well, I can too. All right, let's raise it up a little bit. See who can jump over. Like that's how it. Like it's so simplistic in its beginning. So yeah, track is awesome.
I have my answer. I know what it is now. Gymnastics.
Now what is it? Yeah, I agree.
I like gymnastics.
It is.
That shit they're doing in gymnastics is fucking crazy. There's nothing on the planet I feel like I'm further away from than being able to do what they're doing on the gymnastics floor.
Watching Simone Biles was just transcendent.
Yeah.
Like it was unbelievable. You could see, like, I don't know shit about gymnastics scoring, but Jesus, watching her, I'm like, yeah, she's better than everybody. I can tell. I can just see it.
Well, and even like
it was amazing.
Even like so on the uneven bars, like my fucking 2 out of 10 knowledge of like the body now that I had since like the last Olympics, let's say, the way that they like are holding their body with like their back and their shoulders, and they make it look so easy, and then you go to do that, you would shatter immediately. Both your rotator cuffs, they're gone. It's over. And they just like do that really quick as part of their overall routine. It's just crazy.
It's probably a better pick because these are the times that anybody watches those sports. There are some avenues which people watch volleyball in other times between those 4 years. And yes, track and swimming and other sports have like world championships and the like in between. But everybody pays attention to those during the Olympics, whereas volleyball is kind of forgotten. Basketball might have fallen into that same boat if they were still using amateurs and no pros, pre-Dream Team and stuff. But obviously, it's a different beast entirely. So
yeah. So maybe before we get into well, no, Dave, you had two.
I have one other question.
You have another question that I want to get to, and then I have my own little question.
One other panel question, yes. Okay. So this is a dumb argument that I saw online, and I think it's a stupid argument. I wonder if anybody is willing to engage in it. What matters more to a country, total medals won or gold medals won? Because there are people arguing, saying like the U.S. keeps saying they have the most medals, but it's total, not gold, so it doesn't matter. It's like, does anyone really care about the medal count?
Well, you're saying what matters most to the countries. I don't know, but what matters most to me is gold, is the amount of gold. Personally, I don't really care either way. But like when I saw that, I think at one point the U.S. had the most medals by a pretty good margin, but the second to gold medals, I was like, oh, that's too bad. I want the most gold medals.
We tied for the most gold medals.
Did we? Did we end up tying?
Gold.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, great.
And then the total medal count won by like 40. So
then we won the Olympics.
That's not a thing. That's the whole
so
point.
The U.S. won the Olympics is what you're telling me. So that's pretty cool.
Oh my God. Sean is Make America Great Again.
Because there's been years where like that was not the case. The U.S. did not even get close to the
we lose in the Winter Olympics most of the time to like fucking Norway and shit like that.
Yeah.
Because those fuckers they just have snow all the time.
But no one cares about Winter Olympics.
But I mean, that's how fucking dare you? I absolutely love the Winter Olympics. I think gold matters more only because some countries like us and China just fill up fucking events. We have someone in like almost every event is like, oh, cool, we got I'm not trying to belittle this because it sounds shitty, but it's like, oh, we got a bunch of bronzes, and it's like, well, when we like, for example, in track, we enter 3 people in every fucking event because we have so many people. We have enough people to hit the standard, so we send 3 people. So then it's like, oh, cool, we picked off another bronze and another bronze and another bronze because we just fill up fucking events like goddamn crazy.
We got, I think, 27 medals in swimming, including 8 golds, and it was a bad year.
Exactly.
Like Michael Phelps was like, we might need to retool the entire swim
we
program.
did not do well in swimming
top
at
to
all.
bottom, and we got 27 medals in it and 8 golds. But again, the standard is higher than that. And between athletics and swimming, that's like 2/3 of our total. Whereas, just to name one sport, but there's plenty of examples, everything that men's basketball did was for 1 medal.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
I'm not saying that needs to be changed. It's really hard to like correlate between what country's the best when there's a massive disparity in what type of medals go to what type of events and what countries are in each one. So
you're right, and they should every medal that's given out for the men's basketball team should go to the count.
I have made this argument in the past. I have like smart ass people be like, well, why the fuck does it count as 1 if 12 dudes just got a medal?
Yeah, but also the coaching staff. Let's really boost the gold medal.
Well, even if you don't extend it beyond that, it's funny if Tyrese Halliburton counts towards the medal table because he didn't do jack shit.
Yeah.
But his gold medal is now
he was very proud and admitted that very
sure.
Right
I don't have anything against him personally. I'm just saying that it's funny if you give him a gold medal that counts towards the table, and now that's akin to one of Simone Biles.
When Simone Biles is working her ass off and shit. Exactly. Like it's pretty fucking funny.
Yeah. So, it's a dumb argument. Like honestly, it was one of those things I saw an argument. I'm like, this is stupid. Why do people give a shit about this?
Because
it matters to the individual, of course.
Yeah. On the flip side, like we're not meddling in ping pong, and China's rolling up ping pong ones and taekwondo ones and like all that other stuff. Like they're rolling them up there where we don't actually have many people to compete in that shit. So it's like it ends up kind of balancing out that we fill up a bunch of crap in swimming and track that we're bronzing a bunch of times.
Who won the gold in volleyball?
Men's or women's?
Men's.
Was
Italy? I think
was the gold medal match us in Italy?
Was it Poland who won?
Or is that? Am I thinking
Poland
of?
Was in the final.
I'm thinking of women.
No, Poland lost. Shit, I don't remember, and I watched all the games. That's what happens when you watch the highlight form and they're like 7-minute bursts.
No, France won because they won at home. In men, right?
Let's see. Women, Italy won, and
we silvered.
France beat Poland.
Italy won in women, and then France beat Poland.
So well, we got to give France 6 gold medals, or no?
Well, we bronzed in that, so we got 6 bronze medals.
Well, they probably have 15 on that roster, so
yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Like, there's more on the roster.
I mean, we do, with the exception of men's soccer, we do pretty well in just about most of these teams. Like, well, most of the normal team sports, we don't really do much in field hockey or handball or
rugby.
Hey, that's one of the other coolest moments I was gonna bring up is the fucking walk-off bronze medal. Kick return for a touchdown type shit that
was so early in the Olympics I forgot about it, but you're right.
That was one of the coolest things to have. Actually, again, I don't know the fucking rules of rugby for shit.
So, Dave, my other question. Well, you didn't give your answer. What do you care about more?
He said track.
No. Gold medals or total medals?
Oh, he doesn't give a shit.
I care about. I don't give a shit. I watch the regular events. Like obviously I'm a homer. I want U.S. to win gold, but truly, like, does the medal count make me change? If the U.S. doesn't have the most medals, does it change my experience and enjoyment of the Olympics? Not at all. Not
by the way,
sounds like someone who hates America.
Damn.
Yeah, sure, that's true. Sean's the MAGA, and I hate America.
So you wanted China to win more medals than us, huh?
That's true. Right. Commie.
By the way, most of the world goes by golds. It's mostly people in the U.S. trying to fucking soften the blow of not winning golds, going, well, actually, the total medal. Yeah. Nobody gives a fuck about how many bronzes you have.
Good. I'm glad I'm
Sorry.
with the
Sorry, America.
So, Dave, I wanted to bring up FIBA. And the 3-on-3
This is my true favorite sport is basketball. Yeah, my true favorite sport in the Olympics is basketball.
Well, right. But I want to just bring up the 3-on-3 and just kind of what your thoughts. So, I don't think it is. I think like Brian Windhorst basically saying like it is designed to have America not be good at it because the way that it works.
Yes.
I don't know if they set out to say we need to make sure America is not good, but I mean the format is not conducive to NBA players. I guess I wanted to get your thoughts. Should it change or should we continue to wheel out Jimmer Fredette?
Yeah, I'm not really in favor of finding ways to not send the best people in the sports. It's the fucking Olympics. I think it's fucking stupid.
I agree.
And that would go for any sport, by the way. That's not just like targeting 3-on-3. It's like anything where you have a system in which you're not sending the best person possible for each country is fucking bullshit. And again, for my all intents and purposes, if you want to have someone on the fucking like if you want to have Tyrese be on the end of the bench for the regular basketball and then go play 3-on-3, fucking who gives a shit? People swim in 18 fucking different events and do relays over and over again.
That was my thinking.
So why do you get booted from this team if you can't be on that team? I'm like, every other sport lets you relay and you can find 6 different ways to fucking medal. It's stupid.
Yeah, like if you're a player that find yourself on the end of the bench like Halliburton or Jason Tatum, you can go.
He would not allow himself to be 3-on-3. His mom would throw a fit.
No, probably not. But I think there are some NBA players somewhere that would have been like, yeah, I'll go do 3-on-3.
Mm-hmm.
I think
like Pat Beverly would have done it, right?
Yeah, somebody, and that probably I don't like Pat Beverly at all. Probably would have been a better team.
I like the idea of sending like a bunch of like 3 dickheads that are just jackasses are going to foul the shit out of everybody in 3-on-3.
Did you guys watch any of the 3-on-3?
I watched a little bit, and I was so annoyed with how bad it was. I couldn't watch it.
It's the worst shit you've ever seen because there are times. This is stupid, but there are times where like the 3 of us could have done a better job because you have Jimmer Fredette. You set a screen. He goes, and the roll is just wide open. There's no one. Just such an easy pass, and he jacks up this like fadeaway 3, and he misses it because he sucks. But they did that, and they kept getting the offensive rebound, and they kept doing the same play, and Jimmer just kept shooting and just kept missing.
Well, here's the problem: 2s and 1s.
Oh, well, I know, but
so Jimmer jacking up 3s. He just needs to make 25% of them, and he's doing okay by the stupid scoring standard.
I mean, sure, but he wasn't though.
No, he wasn't, and then he hurt his groin, and he was even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that.
No, you're right.
Is it? It's not makers though, right? It is still.
No.
So. But man,
it is a 12-second shot clock, and a lot of things that are just really not like. Again, I know they have to keep things moving. They got to get so many games in, whatever. I get it, but like. It resembles basketball so little that I don't know why it's worth the time.
Yeah.
It's the someone scores and then you grab it and run back to the 3-point line as quickly as you can, just go. Something just feels so off about that. It's like every pickup game I've ever played, a half-court game, someone scores, you reset. You take that moment to reset, and this didn't have that. So there's some of those cheap buckets where it's like, someone hits a 3 and it hits the back of the rim and goes through and then pops out to the 3-point line. Someone grabs it quickly and passes it and scores. It's like, that's not basketball. Yeah, you can say it's a fast break. It's not really.
Yeah.
And along with what Cody said about the fact of like, you're not sending your best players. The qualification is bullshit on that. It's like, you have to be in a sanctioned 3-on-3 tournament for blah, blah, blah years.
It's points, accrued. Over, yeah. Yep.
No, look, let's have a qualifying tournament prior to the Olympics. And if you win that qualifying tournament, you're in. And so let's throw together the 3 of us and try out. Like, why do we have to have some sort of like, take 3 players and if you qualify, you're in.
You show up for the track trials. If you had a time that like qualified and the qualification for this should be, are you good at basketball? Yes, you show up. And then you run the trials and then you're in the Olympics. It's not. There's a diamond league for track. A bunch of professional track runners run in a league. They can get points. That has nothing to fucking do with how the fucking Olympics work later on. You just have to get a time.
It sounds like they just need to redo like almost everything about like the product on the court, how you qualify, all of it.
It's like the Olympics are so fucking hyper specific on the crazy shit they do. We have literally a gold or a bronze medal that's being decided in they want to take it away from Childs back blah 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 and all this shit because of the nitpicky way we judge this stuff. And then you have 3-on-3 basketball, which is like the epitome of pickup basketball, and they're giving away a gold medal for it. Like the structure of how organized some things are in the Olympics versus that is the epitome of like, they threw this together. What, we've been 2 or 3 Olympics down now. Maybe I can't remember how many we've gone through. And it just feels like they're waiting for that sport to get voted back out. And they're not taking it very seriously in terms of like trying to organize and structure it to where you're getting something fun. Now, also at the same point of, I can see why they really get mad if LeBron showed up and just drove to the rim and fucking dunked on everyone every play when the little like tiny Polish dudes or whoever are trying to stop him. But I'm also again of the opinion of if you want to do this, set it at the different time from the fucking team one and let 3 dudes from Serbia, 3 dudes from Canada. Canada would put up a good fucking 3-on-3 team. Like, there are enough countries with depth now that we can find 4 guys to go on these teams. But again, it's like, it's basketball you were joking about with peach baskets from the 1950s and 60s borderlines. Like, that's who would have been, like, it would have fit in great in the Olympics back then.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of that, it would be a great thing, a great story. What if one of these guys, this team of 3-on-3 who have played together forever and have a lot of talent, were able to take one of these, like, NBA level players to the limit because they work together well and know the structure of the game.
Yeah.
That's super cool if something like that happens. I don't know if it would, but yeah, I agree. Like, send the best. Like, it's what it comes down
I'm curious
to.
if they'll get that cleaned up since we're hosting the next one in the US, and I wonder if the U.S. will be like, hey,
Jimmer, stay home.
This fucking sucks, and we want to win as many medals as possible while we're hosting it. So can we find a better version of this type of bullshit?
Yeah.
I would love for guys to just be on leave from their fucking NBA teams to go do a 3-on-3 point scoring bullshit thing. Like, seriously, take like the 6th dude from like 4 different teams that are not going to make the playoffs and just send them off to go be on a fucking 3-on-3 team together.
Yeah.
I would love to see Joe Johnson and Isaiah Thomas and, recently retired Dwayne Wade, recently retired guys go, we're going to go run the 3-on-3 circuit and just dominate because they could.
Is Ice Cube's league still exist?
I believe so, yeah.
Big 3. Yeah, I believe so.
I think
how the fuck?
He just challenged like the Netherlands or something to a game.
How the fuck are we not taking like the youngest dudes from that 3-on-3 league and just sending them to these fucking tournaments?
The oldest dudes would be
like Michael Beasley is still getting buckets.
Yeah.
Like could never hang in the NBA, but in that kind of format, maybe he's unguardable.
And I'm curious, like, do they actually do bad and we still lose? Because honestly, that'd be really funny. I would laugh at it.
Sure.
I can't imagine. I think they would probably win unless it becomes too fast paced and they can't keep up. Some of these older players, at least.
That's what I was like. You send a bunch of 35-year-olds. I think you're going to be okay. If you send 40-year-olds, maybe.
Dave, I have a question.
The main event. Okay.
I have a question for you.
What's your question?
Why did Jason Tatum not play in the Olympics?
Because he couldn't fit on the team.
Yeah.
It was that simple.
Yeah,
like
it is that simple.
Devin Booker said in a tweet when he followed Kyle Kuzma tweeted said we need somebody who's going to stand in the corner a few possessions and play defense, and Booker said I'll do it. And the best part is he followed up this week with a I did it, which was just
Dave,
beautiful.
You actually had my answer. So I just saw that tweet and I was like, oh, I wonder if that's actually why. Like, I wonder if that mentality was present also, like, in the training and everything of Booker being like, hey, I will just be the dude. I'm not just going to do it. I'm going to say the right thing. I'm going to follow it up by doing it. And I wonder if some of the other players are like, well, I still kind of want to be the guy. And then you have a bunch of people vying to be the guy. And, like, you're doing that against LeBron James. They're not going to bench LeBron James, right? So, you had the same answer that I did. I thought that was interesting, and I wondered if that was the case. Not that Jason Tatum is a bad guy or anything. Seems like a really good guy, actually.
The only reason it happened was because it was a cautionary tale that also kind of involved Anthony Edwards. Because in the games where Edwards was sort of going hero ball and he wasn't making shots, he didn't really see the floor in the second half.
Yep.
The difference is Edwards was playing at a position that didn't have LeBron James and Kevin Durant in it. So in that case, there wasn't a lot of wiggle room for Tatum to begin with. It looked like Kerr was going matchup specific. He played more bigs against Serbia. He didn't play so much against France because they weren't running that 2 big lineup with Gobert and
Wembanyama.
Yeah, Wembanyama all that often. So this seemed like it was more matchup specific. I can see why, like, folks would be upset. I can see why Tatum would be upset. At the same time, he got to see the world. He got a free gold medal. He got some time off after a deep championship run. So Celtics fans who get in their feelings about fucking everything can hold the L.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares? Like, Celtics had 3 players on their team, and 2 of them got decent playing time. 1 didn't, and whatever. You can get your feelings hurt. In the end, he got a gold medal. Like, who cares? Like, if Booker was in that position, to be like, man, I wish I could have seen Booker play more, but oh well, we got a gold medal. So cool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, but it's almost like that mentality, because like I think Booker would have been like, yeah, I'm fine if I don't play, then like for the good of the team, and like that's the mentality of why he is staying the floor. And he really was like, absolutely. I loved in the montage of the flurry of Curry 3-pointers at the end of the France game, which was fucking crazy. Booker, he assisted on like at least one of them. He had the baseline cut and just passed it out. It's like, there's Booker doing like just the smart play.
Things.
Booker didn't come down. It's like, oh man, I need to also shoot a 3 because I want to be part of this comeback. He's like,
he could have shot that pull up. That 15-footer on the baseline is one of his shots.
Yeah. It's like,
it was like 4 on the shot clock. He could have pulled up and nobody would have thought twice about it.
Yep.
But like he did all tournament, he was looking to make the extra pass.
Yep.
I love it. That was, I mean, some of the best things that came from this basketball in the Olympics, which I thought was phenomenal top to bottom. I was even watching other countries. I was watching, France play Canada and Germany and France game. I was just like, there's so much talent now that it's so fun to watch. But I have not been as much of a little kid feeling as when Curry was hitting those 3s at the end of the France game. Like you mentioned it, like I was up just screaming around my house. It was like, how is this man doing this? It was so much fun to watch. And Chris sent a text to us, which I thought was the best. It's like, imagine other countries that don't have Steph Curry. Because it was just, the rest of the world has caught up to us. Like if you want to argue if this team was better than the Dream Team, whatever, it's a dumb argument, but who knows? What I do know is the rest of the world is a lot better than the teams that in 1992 that played against the Dream Team.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
I went back and looked because I was curious. I remember the Dream Team. I was 7, so I don't remember a ton of details about it. Then I've watched stuff about it since then. Dream Team didn't win any games by less than like 35 points. Some of them are like 70. They beat Cuba by like 90 in a warm-up game before the Olympics started, and Cuba looked like they couldn't even dribble properly. And then I looked at what the games looked like. The team that gave them any kind of trouble was Croatia, who had just gotten free from being Yugoslavia. And you know why that happened? Because they had 3 NBA caliber players. They had Drazen Petrovic, they had Dino Raja, and they had Toni Kukoc. The rest of that roster fucking sucked, and you could tell from the way they played against the U.S. Like, these 3 guys have like 20 and 20 and 15 and 9 assists, and then 4, 2, 2, 2, 0. So, like, to Cody's point, like you could easily pull plenty of players for full Olympic squads on the men's basketball side and 3-on-3 because the depth is so much higher than before. So like you said, it's pointless to compare them because now, those teams are giving this superstar squad of U.S. players a run for their money in both the semis and the finals.
Yeah.
And the best part is that the product is so much better now. That comeback against Serbia, as odd as it was, I never felt that we were going to lose because I had such trust in Curry and LeBron and Durant that they knew how to finish a game. But man, Serbia put up a hell of a fight, and that was a great, fun basketball game to watch. How Serbia played so well and played their game and shot the lights out, and then when it really mattered, the U.S. was like, sorry, we have all the talent, we're just going to shut you down, and they did in the fourth quarter. And then France coming in and seeing that France believed they could win and had all these NBA players on their team and was within 3 points with 2 minutes left, which you can't ask for much more as an underdog.
Yeah.
And then Steph Curry happened. So, it was great basketball, though. Fantastic basketball.
I feel like
loved every game I watched.
You expect the U.S. to win still, but like if they lose, you're not like, oh my God, this isn't 1992 where it's like, that's sickening. Mm-hmm. Like they must have just gone out there and completely laid an egg. It's like, well, these are units that they're better now. And these squads play together like a lot. Like they practice. They have a lot more chemistry and camaraderie than the U.S. players do, where there's a limited training camp and then they're like, just go play. So, we're going to get to the point where the U.S. does lose, and I don't know. I think it's going to be okay because the world is different now.
You're also going to hit in 2020, 2028 of how many of these guys are back on that roster. I've seen everyone try and project it over and over again. I'm like, well, also it's going to be in the U.S. So if you think that some of these guys aren't going to try and hang on as long as possible to play on the Olympic team in their home country, like they might try and stretch it as far as they possibly can.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it might actually turn over because we've had this base group for the most part, LeBron and Durant and Steph or whatever, have been through a handful of these now. It's like the next one to roll over, it might actually be different. And I'm curious how, with another 4 years and the pace we're going, is how much better every other country continues to get, as we more than likely are going to take a step back. I mean, it's kind of hard to not take a step back from your international team when you have a handful of the literal greatest players in NBA history.
Yeah, but I heard that Anthony Edwards is the number one option.
That's fine, sure.
And
he is Michael Jordan.
And when we have a bunch of ball hog dudes go out and shoot themselves out of fucking games over and over again, and we end up with a bronze medal in our home country.
But, I mean, you can bring in some people like Jalen Brunson, like maybe Mikal Bridges. He's been listed on a lot of projected rosters. Jalen Williams from OKC, like some people that are also not going to mind filling some roles, playing some defense. Are they as good as the caliber of players we just had? No. But then again, KD will only be 39.
Yeah.
So you feel like, I mean, I mentioned like he has a provisional spot, supposedly. That's what I think what Windhorst said yesterday.
Booker obviously is going to be back because
sure,
he just
Tatum
keeps starting.
Maybe, as long as he's not too butthurt.
And that's what I'm actually curious about is like, do you start building to construct a team with roles a little bit more than being like, well, we have like 4 of the best players in the history of the NBA, so that's the top of the roster. That, granted, like, yeah, maybe LeBron might be done by then. KD probably tries to hang on and keep playing. We'll see about health for everybody. But I'm like, I'm curious if you start to shift away from some of that, because again, really funny, some of the superstars of the NBA aren't fucking American. So you're not actually taking. You used to be you took like the top 8 guys of the NBA and you threw them on the roster, and that's actually not how this works.
You would argue none of the top 5 is American.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Currently, yeah.
And that's fucking. And to Dave's point, that's really fucking cool.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
what we've gotten to, and that we might be in for a fucking struggle in 2028. And it's like. To what Sean said, that's not an indictment on us anymore, and it really won't be in 2028, but the pressure's still going to be on because we're hosting the fucking thing.
I want to remind everybody, I do like Anthony Edwards, but I also want to remind ESPN agreed with the take that he's the number one option. Now that it's over, I'm going to do the Draymond receipts thing from the last Olympics. I just want to remind everybody, ESPN went on and the full panel agreed actually to Anthony Edwards' joke that he is the number one option on this team. So
he will be. Maybe.
Well, yeah, in another 4 years, not on this Olympics.
Unless somebody passes him by.
So, how much, I guess, the love of Devin Booker was great. Like, seeing everybody that absolutely loved what Devin Booker was, and a lot of conversions, I would say, seemed to happen for a lot of people. Yep. How many people do you think had their opinions swayed of LeBron, of not thinking that he's one of the greatest ever, because I think everyone unanimously agrees that he's one of the greatest ever, but just the way he controlled these games at this age, do you think anyone's opinion swayed of him, or is like, hey, he's like not the flopping crybaby, like he's actually is really good? Like more casual people swayed on that?
Dave, here's what I think. No, but because at this point LeBron has done such a good job in the last he's a Laker, right? And some people are going to hate him for that too. But like, he's done such a good job of rewriting that narrative already that like, if you still hate LeBron and you need swaying, I don't know if anything's ever going to change your mind. Like, you just hate LeBron. And if you were able to be swayed, you would have been swayed, because he has done a really hell of a job. And like, my family, because of politics, are like, oh, LeBron James sucks. Like, you can't. What do you mean he sucks? You cannot like him. There are certain things you cannot like. But like, this was when he did. I mean, he had a lot of flashy passes, but there was one where he was like in the right corner and did like a lead baseline pass like this way to a cutter also coming. Such a tough fucking pass. Mm-hmm. And you're just like, that's incredible to have that vision, even though you have an ability to score almost every single time that you're down the floor. It's amazing.
I just think I view it as he's fucking smart when it comes to basketball.
He is.
So in the NBA, he can do whatever the fuck he wants when he gets the officials to do whatever the fuck he wants. And guess what? He flipped a switch when the FIBA officials officiate shit differently, and he knows how to fucking handle basketball. Yeah. So guess what? He could go play a little bit of a different style because he's brilliant when it comes to the fucking sport, fall in line with how it's going to work, and embrace that. And it's like, okay, so basically I just viewed it as like, yeah, LeBron's fucking brilliant when it comes to this sport. Like,
it's even amazing, like the plays like off the rim, because like the rules is like he's on top of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though he plays in a league that doesn't do it, he needs no adjustment time. It's amazing.
Which I mean, again, it doesn't need to turn into like LeBron's amazing, but and all that. But for the guy who was anointed physically as being like this great gifted basketball player, the fact that he's actually fucking brilliant when it comes to the sport itself, and he put in the work to be a genius when it comes to it. I feel like in the Olympics, that's when you really actually get to see that stand out, because you're right. During the NBA, he gets one, he falls into the same bullshit that most of the league does, and the league just embraces it and lets it all go because it's just how it's officiated. So it's kind of refreshing to be like, oh yeah, when he needs to like nail down and shut the fuck up and just go to work, well, we fucking went to work more than anything.
It was so much fun watching him just command the floor. You just saw nobody else on the floor worked the defense like he did, commanded the offense. It was just, I don't know. Like, you want to have your camp of who's the greatest ever. The argument is dumb at this point. It doesn't really matter. But man, I just respect the hell out of him for what he did on the court in this Olympics. It was so much fun to watch him.
Yeah. I just think I saw a lot of you couldn't find a better, and like we said, we don't know. Maybe they come back for another Olympics, but if this is like the closing chapter of this generation, and you have James and Curry and Durant celebrating, especially at that Serbia comeback, and then capping off with a gold medal, it's pretty incredible. I can't wait for the movie that, like, I'm sure, right? They must have had a crew.
I hope so, because the best part about this Olympic team, it seems like every single person on this team is not a bad guy. You know, like you had some of the people, maybe personalities weren't so great in like 2004 or something like that when they had the bronze medal. It was guys who were really kind of out for themselves a little bit more. Everybody on this team, I think, seems like a good guy. Curry always seems like a good guy. LeBron seems like a good guy. Booker, Durant, like always seem like just good people overall. And so that's really so fun to watch a movie like that.
And lest we forget, Draymond was on the team in 2021. So even the more recent squads still have an asshole or two on them.
Yeah.
Well, Embiid is that role here, so
it does make me realize, like, oh, Durant's not washed. Our team just fucking sucks. We have no help for these two guys, because you get them around. Now I know it's a little bit different, but like you can really say, wow, those two are just amazing.
Turns out if you played at their strengths, they're phenomenal basketball players, and if you try and make them do other stuff, they're good enough to adapt. But yeah, having a true point guard on the roster might be beneficial to both of them in the upcoming season, which we'll get to in a season preview in about a month.
We're going to get to that preview, and I think this Olympics experience is going to color a lot of that show. But
yes. Yep. Last question I just have for everyone who knows this. What is my favorite basketball game I've ever watched? Like the one that made me feel the fuzziest, made me the most happy watching, was the 2008 gold medal game against Spain. Like Kobe, LeBron, Dwayne Wade, like that whole roster, that game was such a phenomenal high level game. Do you think one of those the games in this Olympics surpassed that? Because I heard people saying the Serbia game was the greatest basketball game I ever watched. I don't know about that. The France game was great. I don't know if it surpassed it, but I'm still of the 2008 Spain gold medal game was the best basketball game I ever watched.
I didn't watch that one. And it depends how you quantify it. Like maybe in terms of excitement, the Serbia game was more. You could maybe say.
Yeah.
But like that seemed like that game was like Steve Kerr said this about the Serbia game, like that was a perfect game. And I'm thinking, no, it wasn't. We needed like a huge comeback, and that was awesome. But like we weren't playing super well before that. So how can you say that's a perfect game? The Spain game, it just seemed like both teams were playing 110% the entire time, and we just managed to pull it off. So yeah, exactly. I think that's probably still the one. But yeah. And the France game was exciting, but we were in pretty good control for most of that game. They cut it down to 3, and I know it was a little concerning, but
it had similarities to the Spain game because both teams were playing very, very well. I just think that Spain game had that everybody's at the highest level they possibly could be.
Yeah.
So,
I also think it counts that Spain at that point was basically the peak of their basketball existence for the most part with a team that they put together for that game. Because I remember that game very, very well. When I was like, it was the summer of my getting out of high school, and I was like really fucking pumped to watch all of those Olympics. Also at that time, knowing that Ricky Rubio was coming, and what he was able to do to watch him in that game and be like, oh shit,
he was so good in that
this
game.
is what we're being introduced to. And so like I feel like just the same as you did, because when you were like thinking of the best game, and I'm like, yeah, probably the Spain USA game, and then that's what you go to. I'm like, yeah, I'm like 100% fucking agreement of all.
We got to wrap up, man. But like, what is it about the national stage, or I guess international, that makes Fournier so fucking good when they're playing in France, and then like sort of a non-factor in the NBA? Like, he's fine. But I'm thinking like Jose Calderon, like he's a fine NBA player, but
Rudy
like he was
Fernandez.
amazing in the Olympics.
Yeah. I don't know. Evan Fournier can't even crack a rotation anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, further strengthening your point, like he's barely holding on to an NBA roster spot, and yet there is somebody. Patty Mills is another big time example. Like Patty Mills for Australia might be one of the best players in basketball history, but he never really had those heights when he played for the Spurs or any number of other teams. So I think it's just something about representing your country. We saw how much it mattered even to Wemby, who's way too young to feel that bad about what happened. And I saw some people being like, why did that hit him so hard? It's like, because they were the host country.
Yeah.
To Cody's point, like, that's why it might matter in 4 years. Maybe LeBron does play at 44 because we're hosting. I don't think there's another world where he wouldn't. But I think having your country's name on your front of your jersey just brings out a different level in some people who really care. And I think that's cool.
I think that could be, maybe the rules are like super defined.
I think they know how to utilize the guys.
Yeah.
I think that the fringe NBA guys in all those countries, they build teams around them effectively. They really harness what they're strong at. They know how to handle them. And I think that the coaching, when they're the focus, they can kind of, coupled with being really fucking motivated to give a shit. I think it just all makes a perfect.
And also wonder, like, anecdotally, like, if I know for a fact my team has a ton of belief in me.
Yeah.
I even, in my basketball, it doesn't even matter. That will make a difference, as opposed to like, are they going to get mad if I'm shooting? Are they going to get mad if I miss it? When you have that camaraderie, it makes a big difference.
I mean, they look to you as being like, just because you're a fringe NBA guy, none of which those guys aren't in the NBA. Yeah. They look at the fringe NBA guys as they're fucking heroes in that country.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's like, we believe in you. You take your shot. I feel like it has to give you confidence to play freely. Like, you're a fringe NBA guy. Every shot you take, well, if I miss it, am I getting cut? Am I going to get another contract next year?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And for these ones, it's like, you go out there and you're like, hey, we're living and dying with you. Legitimately, no pressure is really how you can feel, especially for some of the countries that aren't even going to be in medal contention. You get into the Frances and things like that, and I think it actually starts to adjust a little bit because they are now expected to do well. But for some of the ones where it's like you have one or two former or current NBA guys, those guys are the fucking heroes.
Well, even like Bogdanovic, who's like, he's a fine NBA player, but like he's fucking Michael Jordan for that European
exactly.
team.
And that has to make you feel really good and really beloved. And if you give a fuck about your country at all, then you're going to go out there and you're going to really fucking put in the work. Again, coupled with the fact that you, like, as you said, a lot of those dudes play with these international teams through the FIBA Worlds and qualifiers and all that. And we send out a shit team that finishes 7th over and over again. And then all these guys come in and they're like, I'm here to do this. Because I respected Durant for a long time, because Durant was going to play in FIBA a lot. And he was really fucking committed until injury started to catch up with him. When he was younger, he was going to tournaments he had no business actually playing in for that team, but he took it really seriously, like a lot of those other international guys do. And I will like always remember that early in his career of being like, people talk a lot of shit about you, but you give a fuck about this international thing, and you're like, no, if I'm going to be on the team, I'm going to be on the team. And I respect you get into your mid-30s, you torn your Achilles and all that. You do not need to be going to the America's qualifying tournament. You don't need to do that.
The message has been driven home over and over again. He just loves to play basketball.
Yeah.
And I think even the Warriors thing, which he was derided for, we've talked it to death. I get it. I don't even think he considered the legacy part of that. I don't think he cared. He just saw the opportunity to be like, wow, I can play basketball with Steph Curry, and the game's going to come more easily, and the on-court stuff's going to be so great. Like, I'm doing it. I think afterwards he realized the magnification of what he had done. But I think he just wanted to play good basketball, and he found beautiful basketball with the Warriors.
You can almost argue he still doesn't maybe even know, because I'll hear him a lot be like, why don't I get that respect? Or why, like, asking these questions, and you're like, well, Durant, you know what the answer is, right?
Yeah.
But he's kind of like, no, I just made the best decision for me. Why is that so bad? And you're like, well, Fair, actually.
I just feel like that vibe that he put off.
Yeah.
That vibe he put off is what a bunch of the international guys do. And that's why the more and more we get international people and build up all these random countries, it's just going to make this fucking product so fucking awesome.
So much better.
NBA keeps exploding. I know, Dave, you remember, like, right now we've been doing the show for so long, which we talked about, but, like, there was a time, even when we had started the show, where it's like the NBA kind of, like, maybe at an inflection point a little bit. Like, still it's popular, but, like, it was really lagging behind. It didn't seem to be as big. And then you fast forward to now, and it's just exploding. And as a fan of the sport and the league, it makes me really happy.
Yeah. Real quick, I need for the record what Chris's favorite basketball game of all time is.
Okay.
Because I didn't get it.
I don't know.
Oh, man. Come on.
You know what I'm realizing as I'm starting to get older? I don't fucking care.
That's
not
fair.
that I don't mean
fair.
to diminish your discussion point, but like I'm so tired of the greatest of all time whatever discussions because they've been done to death via social media and all the ESPN talking head shows and stuff. I don't like. I have feelings about several games. That the ones you guys mentioned, one of them, the one we just saw in the gold medal game, might be one of my favorites because while the basketball quality is better in USA Spain, it didn't have the moments and the highs of the culmination of Curry, Durant, and LeBron. Like storyline wise, the France final was a wrestling match of a basketball game in the sense that like it had long-term payoffs and huge moments, and like that stuff to me is going to stick with me more than the exquisite basketball in the USA Spain game.
Yeah, that's fair. And that's why I like the conversation, not debate so much, but I guess more so the conversation.
That's why I don't mean to come off as harsh, but like I haven't spent any time thinking about it because I'm like I don't.
Well, but
what's my favorite NBA game of all time? I'm like I don't know.
I like that. We're saying like we don't care, whatever. Best is overdone. Stay tuned though, where we're gonna rank the best pizza places in Flagstaff. That's coming up in a few weeks now.
I feel like the best game that you've ever seen might like really be like based on where you are in life, what the players that are involved, like what it means to you. Like I mean, like again, like granted, you're not as tied to Durant as you guys are, like Booker, but you have one of your fucking favorite players in the league, and probably going to be ever, honestly, once he gets done playing for you guys. That is a pretty big part of this gold medal, and I feel like you attach yourself to like the players that are around on those teams of like. Well, yeah, I remember that really fondly because like Booker got to get a gold medal out of that, and he was a pretty important part of it. Yeah. And as that ages, I feel like you're going to look back and be like, fuck, man, that gold medal game against France was really fucking cool because one of the guys that I loved watching for however many years he's going to be a son was a really important part of that. Oh, and Durant's also a son technically.
At least Booker got a title of some sort. I can look
that's a sad one.
Two.
And so I do wonder if that factors in a little bit at the time. Because, like, for example, part of the reason I like the 08 game is I didn't hate Kobe Bryant the same way as I do now as I aged up. And I'm like, wait a minute. Hold on a second. When you're 17, 18, you don't even fucking think about some of those bigger world pickers. So at the time, I was a Lakers fan, and Kobe's a huge part of that. So guess what? I fucking loved that gold medal game. Like, unsurprisingly, where I was in life and also being like, oh, Ricky Rubio's fucking dope. I started like that's where that game ends up being my favorite. I feel like you look back on it and your mind might change based on where you like look back at yourself and where you were.
Cody, we have to wrap up.
Fine.
But I want to say we need to do that Suns preview. I think we probably can do it pretty soon.
Cool,
we have like the players. It would be worth doing
I'll take a week off. Sounds good.
Well, but not next week because we can't have two sports episodes in a row. And then Dave is going to be here for the pizza thing that I mentioned. So maybe like early September, though.
Cool. Let's go.
I mean, you don't have to take off. You can still be here.
Out.
All right. Well, anyways.
I would kind of like to see like a preseason game.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't hurt.
Just to sort of see what, I mean, we kind of have an idea what Budenholzer's going to do as a coach, but like just to see it with some of our own pieces and how it gels because the roster is relatively set at this point, but it's a little early. I mean, the season doesn't start for 2.5 months.
Yeah.
So we'll get to it. Next week, there hopefully will be a show, hopefully online, in part because who the fuck knows what's happening with my computer anymore, and in part because I'll be flying back from New York that day. But in theory, there will be an episode, and it won't be viewed after the fact like this one was. Ironically, the one 2 weeks from now will be because we'll be recording it while Dave is here, as mentioned with the tier list. We can't really do that one live, so that'll be another one that just pops up as like a live, a premiere. And maybe I'll hop in the chat and talk to folks while they're watching along. But anyways, that's the end of the show. We've stayed too long, especially with the technical glitch in the middle. Thank you for watching or listening. In between episodes, you can find us at our website, grayareas.live or youtube.com/@grayareaslive. We will hopefully see you next time.